So the lineup that I had before the game's locked in, that lineup should have and I think I didn't play any 50-50 games, and I definitely didn't play that lineup, but I think that lineup would have pushed you in the cash in most tournaments. It didn't push you in the cash in the 20-point tournament, but in the other tournaments it did. In the single entry tournaments, 268 definitely pushed you in the money. And I did it again. I went on a live show, changed my lineup. The last time I did that, the same thing happened. I lost. And then last night, I had a lineup that was a winning lineup. Went on a live show, changed it, and lost. It's not going to be a third time, though. Pretty sure about it. But one thing that it does show is that how effective my system is, right? So this lineup is a lineup that I carefully made. And Zaza had 30 points. So before I had Tristan Thompson, I had Zaza. So that's about 15 more. I'd have been in the 280s, right? But it's just to show you that when I take time and pick a lineup within a system, it's proven to get you either a little bit above 300 or a little bit under 300. And then I get cute throughout the day. Look, Delon Wright hit about 8 times value. Um, I didn't have most spades. I had Fareed, and Fareed did better than most spades. All right. So I had Fareed here, and I had Zaza here. I'd have been almost 300 points tonight, guys. If I'd have stuck to the, if you look at last night video and you play the picks from last night video, not the today changes, you'd have been at 300 points today. And you would have won in all formats based on the system that I use. But I left the system because news dropped that LeBron James, that what's his name, Kevin Love is playing. That clouded my judgment a little bit last minute, thinking, oh, LeBron won't get as much touches and rebounds, and I started just losing it. And LeBron hit 6 times value. You know what I mean? And if I'd have left my lineup from last night video, I'd have did well. But I changed it, and I use it as tonight's lesson is when I make a video at night, it's using a proven system, and I'm gonna get into it for the new watchers, the new viewers. If you're new to my video, I'm gonna explain to you the system that I use. It's a system that's gonna get you around 300 points every night if you follow it. The only thing that would really get in the way is if lineup lock causes one of your players not to play, or if an injury happened, right? Like yesterday, we had an injury, we would have been closer to 300. Today, I went away from my system and changed my lineup, and it cost me big time. I actually got a message on YouTube from someone who said they stuck with my original lineup and that they're doing very well. They're almost at 300. So the further away from my system that I went, and pre-lock just made this weird lineup, taking advice from people in the chat. That one did very bad. So the closer to my system that you stay, the better that you're gonna do. Tonight we're gonna get back to the system. We're gonna get into the slate breakdown, right? Chicago versus Washington. I'm so pissed off. Um, so Cameron Payne, I think, is out. Dwayne Wade shut down for the season, and John Wall is questionable. On the Chicago side of the ball, I still like Rondo. We know since he's been starting, he's been consistently in the 30s. He needs just about 40 to hit value tomorrow. So I'm gonna pull Rondo over for consideration. He fits the system. So my system is you got to pick players that can get you 6 times value for their price. That's the first criteria. If they cannot get you 6 times value for the price, if you cannot foresee it, then it's not a good pick. The second criteria is not only can they do it, but have they been doing it consistently? If you look at the last 10 games they played and they're not giving you 6 times value consistently, I would be careful. I wouldn't really mess with them. The third thing is upside. So yes, they can get you 6 times, but how many times have they exceeded that 6 times value into 7 or 8 times value? Those are the players that you want to target. So if you see two players that 6 times value consistently, but one has a 60-point game and one doesn't, I won't say always go with the one with the higher upside, but then you start looking at other factors such as matchups, back to back, who's home, um, how the team is, if they're tanking at this point, are they in playoff contention, do they need the game? Things like that start to come into consideration. So that's the system that I use, and I'm going to use it to formulate a lineup that I'm going to play tomorrow, okay? I need you guys to help me not change my lineup, all right? The people who are with me and that ride with me tomorrow when I start getting crazy, just say, listen, your system works. Leave it alone. Don't let me. I'm not gonna do it anyway because I already learned twice not to make that mistake. So let's get right to it, right? So Rondo I like for that price. I don't like Jimmy Butler for 9K. He needs 50s, and he doesn't fit my system, right? He had 50 one time, but then 20s from a guy that's 9K is really gonna cripple your lineup. You don't want to mess with that. Denzel Valentine is worth consideration. He needs 24. He hasn't been getting 24 consistently, so it's a waste of time. I'm not gonna really mess with him. And he's a player that's really like not proven, right? He's risky. We don't like take risk with our money. I took risk with a lot of. I took risk with my money today, and it cost me like $200. I would have won if I would have just chilled. You know what I mean? I would have won like $200 today if I would have chill out. But that's fine. I'm learning as I'm teaching you guys. I'm learning the same lesson as I'm teaching. That's ironic. But anyway, um, Jimmy Butler. We just spoke about Valentine. Miritich. Let's check it out. 24, 27, 41, 25. He has an 8 point game, but he got 18 minutes that game, and the team seems to be kind of. So it looks like Hoiberg in Chicago has been taking a lot of heat from his players, saying that he's bugging out. Since the team started benching Rondo, they came out of playoff contention. Then now that they've been playing Rondo, they're 1 for 1, I guess, when they start in Rondo. And Miritich, they took out the um, starting lineup and the rotation altogether, and he's been back as well. So Miritich, he does fit the system. 27, 41, 25. He can get you 13 and 11, which will really, or 8. That will really cause you to have a bad night. So I'm not gonna put Miritich over in the box. I'm gonna stick to Rondo for that purpose. Robin Lopez has not been consistent around 6 times value. He doesn't really show too much upside. We're gonna leave him alone. On the Washington side of the ball, John Wall is questionable. My guess is that he doesn't play. I don't see why they would play him. I know that they're trying to chase Cleveland for first place, but Cleveland is getting healthy. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. I think they got second place locked in. I don't see Boston um, doing better than Washington down the stretch. Give your guy a rest. He's been playing like the most minutes. He's averaging 37 minutes. No, 36 minutes on the season. He needs a rest. But nonetheless, if he does play, we need about 60 or mid 50s from him. And he does it consistently. He's in the 50s one, two, three, four, five, six, 7 times out of the last 10 games. In 2 games against the Chicago team, he's been in the 50s. So if John Wall does play, he does get some consideration. I don't like playing big name players, but I'm gonna pull him over because he fits the system, right? Bradley Beal for his price will need 48 points. Although he's been doing well, he doesn't fit my system. He doesn't get 48 quite often. He's often in the 30s. And if he gets 30s for 8,000, you're gonna be upset. So don't take that risk tomorrow, okay? Bogdanovich come off the bench. I really don't like to roster bench players unless they have a prominent role. Bogdanovich is getting mid 20s for minutes, which is pretty prominent, I guess, but he can get you 17 and 14 fantasy points. He's not consistent above the 6 times mark. So stay away from Bradley Beal, all right? Otto Porter, same thing. He can get you 40 and 36, but then he'll get you 24 and I mean he's been a little more consistent recently, right? He's been in the 30s and up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of the last 10. It's just that Jimmy Butler can play a little bit of defense. He fits the criteria. I'm gonna pull him over Otto Porter, but I don't know if I'll be able to get to Otto Porter tomorrow. It's just too risky. He's been too up and down, man. And the upside is there in the 40s. I mean, if I pay 6,500 and I get 24 from him tomorrow, I'll be upset. So I'm gonna chill with Otto Porter, especially with John Wall being questionable. They're both questionable at that point because John Wall creates a lot of opportunities for the rest of the team. I'm gonna get rid of both of them. I don't think I'll get to them, and I don't want to waste too much time on tonight's video, so I'm gonna do that. Gortat needs about 30. He can get you 20, 15, and 14 in the last 3 or 4 games. So Gortat's too inconsistent. That's enough. Rondo's the only one from that game that I'll consider for tomorrow. Dallas versus Philly. Wesley Matthews questionable. Ben Simmons remain out. We know that. On the Dallas side of the ball, Yogi Ferrell is losing minutes now to JJ Barea. He needs about 27. His last two games, 15 and 19. He doesn't fit my system. JJ Barea, I like, man. I like JJ Barea tomorrow. He needs about 22 to hit value. He just put up a 28-point game, and I don't like to chase single digit games, but he's someone to watch moving forward because he's going to retake the starting lineup for them eventually, and he has the talent too. He's a better player than Yogi Ferrell. He's a veteran, and he has better skills. He puts up assists and very quickly. In 17 minutes, 7 assists is pretty good. In 20 minutes, 13 assists is pretty good. So I like that. And if he can do that, then Rondo definitely can do that against Washington. Rondo is in a good spot. I think he hits another 40 bomb tomorrow. Love the position that Rondo is in. Continuing with Dallas, Seth Curry has not been consistent. He need about mid 30s, and he hasn't even been in the 30s in the last 3 games. So I'll be careful with Seth Curry. Wesley Matthews questionable, so I'm going to leave him out just for that. And even if he wasn't, he needs about 30. He hasn't been near 30. 8, 20, and 25. So be careful with that. Small forward Harrison Barnes need mid 30s. He's been in the 20s and low 30s. He doesn't have the upside. I'm not interested in Harrison Barnes. Dirk, I am interested in. He's averaging about 6 time value for his price in the last 10 games. That's promising. He has 40-point upside. He doesn't really get to 36 that well. He does. He has 1, 2, 3 games in the last 10 that he's in the 40s and mid 30s in 2 other of those games. Against the Sixers in 28 minutes, he only put up 20 fantasy points. The thing that I'm afraid of is that he'll be matched up against like a Saric, and it's a lot of youth on the Sixers, and let's see how he does against teams with a lot of youth. Washington is a pretty quick team, but Washington have slow bigs, right? Looking for teams that have quick bigs on the inside, like a Lakers, OKC, Atlanta. He didn't do. I mean, he fits the criteria, so I'm gonna consider Dirk for the time being, right? Let's put Dirk over. Nerlens Noel, I was big on him, but then he got the last 2 games. It seems like that's the role that he's gonna settle in. It's a good revenge game against the Sixers, and I don't see why Dallas does not roll him out to take advantage of it. A lot of people are gonna be all over him tomorrow because of the narrative, but he doesn't fit my system. He's not consistent around 6 time value, so I'm not chasing that. I'm all set. If you're a person about stories and narratives, go for it, okay? TJ McConnell, he needs about 30. He doesn't. In the last 3 games, he's been just about 30. We know that he'll get you there most nights, just about it, but the upside isn't there. And then he does have some mid teens downside. He started sharing some minutes to Rodriguez, and it's a bad matchup for him. In 28 minutes, he only put up 20 points against this team. So TJ McConnell has been eliminated. Joe Henderson, not consistent. He does show some flashes of games in the 20s, but for the most part, he's in the teens. I'm not interested in Luau Cabarro. I'm not interested in that. Robert Covington doesn't fit. He needs about 40. And he's been in the 20s 3 out of the last 4 games, so he's eliminated for that. Saric fits my system. He's been hot. He's been 50, 50, 26, 42, 36. He needs upper 40s to hit value. And I'm just afraid of Saric tomorrow. I think the matchup is not great. In 24 minutes, he only put up 23 fantasy points. I'm not feeling Saric tomorrow. Okafor fits my system, and I might have some interest in Okafor because in a little bit of minutes he does well. But look at the teams that he do it against. Dallas is a difficult team. LA and Golden State can get a pass. I'm sure the Knicks he terrorizes. He needs 30. And I don't trust him for 30. In his last 4 games, he fits the system. I'll put him over. In the last 4 games, he's had 30 points. And then he showed some upside of 43 in the last 10. Dallas is a tough matchup, but I'll pull him over because he fits the system. All right, and that's that slate. Moving on to Boston versus Brooklyn. Trevor Booker is gonna play. Isaiah Thomas is ruled out tomorrow. Um, Joe Harris and Kilpatrick are dealing with injuries and they'll be out. Because Isaiah Thomas is going to be ruled out tomorrow, I'm going to go Terry Rozier. I'm going to do it with confidence, and I'm going to explain why I like Rozier tomorrow. He's going to get the start at point guard, right? Against a weak Brooklyn defense, which should be a high scoring game because Brooklyn doesn't play defense, right? He only needs 18 to hit 6 times value. Now, as a backup, he's been in the 20s 2 times out of the last 10. Whenever he gets minutes in the 20s, he seems to be hitting value for what he's worth. He got 18 minutes, he put up 20. 20 minutes, he put up 16. 20 minutes, he put up 23. And another thing that I like to tell people when I coach them with daily fantasy is that when players go into a new role, you want to pick them. For example, Yogi Ferrell came into a new role. He did well until teams got the scout report on him, and then he cooled down. When Sean Long played that one game for Philadelphia, he did well. When Jordan Crawford just came to New Orleans and had a big role, he did well. When players are new to a big role, the opposing team doesn't have a scouting report and they're going to do well. I know today I wanted to pay the minimal for Delion Wright, and he gave me 6 times value. I think Rozier is a better player than Delion Wright. He's going to have more minutes. He's actually starting. He's starting for the minimal price. You got to pick Rozier. You got to do it with confidence, okay? AV Bradley needs 36. He hasn't been doing it consistently. He doesn't fit my system. One can argue that his role would be more tomorrow. It's a valid point, but he doesn't fit my system. In 2 games against Brooklyn, he's played 33 minutes this season. He's put up 40.5. So one can argue that it's worth playing him for 6K tomorrow, but again, he doesn't fit my system. Now, if at the end of the night and I can't find a shooting guard, I might go for AV Bradley, but he hasn't been consistent. All right, and that worries me. He's getting Minnesota's a tough matchup. Chicago's a little easier. He did okay. Denver's a good matchup. And then he plays defense, so he'll get you steals. I think he'll be called upon for more points tomorrow. I'm gonna put him over, only because of his history with the team. And he's been in the 30s, I would say consistently. 30, 35, 30, 28, 29 can be as close as 30. The minute lift is lifted, and with Isaiah Thomas being out tomorrow and a good matchup against Brooklyn, I think that he could take it to the lane. I think he'll take it to the lane on them. His 3 ball's been dropping, man. He's 4 for 6, 3 for 3, 4 for 8, um, 6 for 11. I mean, he had a 1 for 6 game here, but it's not like him. And Brooklyn is a matchup. I'll take him and Terry Rozier tomorrow and be happy with that. Jay Crowder hasn't been consistent. In 2 games against the Nets, he's played 25 minutes and scored 30 points. He needs a little over 30, maybe 32 to hit value for me tomorrow. He's been at 14 and 24. Now, the Nets is a good matchup. The Nets are going to be on a back-to-back, so I don't know who they're going to be rested. I don't know if it could be a potential for a blowout. But I don't use blowout when I pick my team. I don't consider it. I think it's a bad idea. I just don't think Jay Crowder has been consistent. And Jaylen Brown coming off the bench, I'm not interested. Their power forward situation is a little weird. Olenek is not consistent. 15, 28, then 5 is not what you want. Amir Johnson, he needs about 20, low 20s. He'll get you 21, then he'll get you 13 and 10. If he gets me 13 or 10, I'm going to be upset that I picked him. So, no. Al Horford has to be one of my favorite plays of the night. All right. Isaiah Thomas is out, so they're looking for more scoring. Al Horford is going to take like 20 shots tomorrow, okay? He's going to make most of them. He can shoot the 3. Although he's not a rebounding kind of guy, he's going to get rebounds against the Nets. He can assist the ball, he can block, he can steal, he fills up the stat sheet, and he's gonna be needed for some scoring. So I think he scores 20 points again tomorrow. And if he's scoring 20 points, he's gonna be in the 40s. As far as my system, 47, 34. So he's heating up. He does show some inconsistencies, but his floor is pretty safe, right? I could say he has a 5-time floor of 30 tomorrow in a prominent role, and his upside of 48 is just what you want. That's 8 times value, man. I'm gonna put Al Horford in, and I probably don't look back. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna take Okafor out. I don't love Okafor. I'm gonna put Al Horford as my center, and I think that might be one of my locked in plays for tomorrow. On the Brooklyn side of the ball, way too much uncertainties. Jeremy Lin needs about 36. He did it today. He did it the day before, and he's been in the 30s consistently. He seems to be the direction that the team is going in. He's in a good matchup. I don't see why not consider Jeremy Lin. Um, Shooting guards. I don't like any of those guys. Dinwiddie, Archie Goodwin, Randy Foye, just not people you want to consider tomorrow. Karis LeVert, Quincy AC, you don't want to mess around. Hollis Jefferson had a good game today. Is he gonna do it again tomorrow? I don't know. That came at the expense of Booker not playing. He got some extra run. He's a little bit inconsistent. He can get you 18 or he can get you 30. So he's up and down. We don't want to chase it. Brook Lopez is also a good play tomorrow. In 2 games against them, he's played 24 minutes. He's gave me 19. He needs 40s to hit value. And he had 40s twice in the last 4 games, but he can get you 16 some nights. I think his floor is also safe in the 30, 20s, upper 20s mark. It's just that for 7K, Brook Lopez, I'm having a hard time getting there tomorrow, being honest. But he fits the system. Would I play him over Jeremy Lin? Um, I don't think I'll play either of them tomorrow, to be honest. So I'll just leave Brook Lopez alone. But if you like Brook Lopez and something is telling you to play him, it's not a bad pick. He's been consistent, to be honest. 35, 40, and 40. That's the last 3 games. Anything 40 and up will satisfy you at around the 6 times value. His upside for that price is not really there, and that's the reason why I'm really not too interested in him, okay? Detroit versus Toronto. There are no injuries. Again, Delon Wright on any given night will get you the mid to upper teens. But tomorrow, with me loving Rozier, I'm definitely not gonna get to Delon Wright. I don't love DeMar DeRozan. He's too up and down. Today he had like 20 something fantasy points for 8K. If you're gonna pay 8K and you get 20 something fantasy points, you're never gonna win money. So leave DeMar DeRozan alone, man. Corey Joseph starts. Um, In 20 minutes against this team, he's only producing 13 fantasy points. So I'll stay away from Kojo tomorrow. Norman Powell is not worth consideration because Damari Carroll is back and he's back in the starting lineup. I think Damari Carroll is kind of cheap for his price, but either one I'll stay away from tomorrow. They're just not um, consistent to get you what you want. Serge Ibaka, same thing. He needs 36. He's been getting you 14 and 19. That will cost you. You want to stay away from it. Valanciunas been around 30 consistently. Today he didn't do it. This is a tougher matchup for him. He can get you 23 points. Um, and 2 games playing 34 minutes against this team, he's averaging 38. Coming off of a loss and traveling, how much did he do today? Let's see what Valanciunas did today. He had a hard time today, but um, Oklahoma is a team that's pretty tough on the bigs. I could consider Valanciunas tomorrow, man. I'll be honest. He's starting to heat up, and his price hasn't caught up to him as yet. He's getting back to the Valanciunas of late. Um, in 3 out of his last 4 games, and some tough matchups: Dallas, Atlanta. For centers, those are tough matchups. He's been double double machine. Hitting 7 times value for his price. Here he hit about almost 10 times value for his price. Valanciunas is kind of interesting. I want to see what he did today and how he does on back to back. I think I could get to Valanciunas tomorrow. He fits the system well. Just saying it out loud, it doesn't make sense. But if I'm gonna stick to a consistent way of playing fantasy sports, which is how you really win, then Valanciunas is someone that you should not hesitate about getting to today. Detroit is going through something right now. Even though Drummond is there, Valanciunas points comes from like rebounds. I think he can score 10 points. Let me see what he did today. Um, so he had 7 points and 5 rebounds in 16 minutes. I think he doubles that minute output tomorrow and gets something like 14 and 10, which is value for what we want, right? And he probably get you some blocks in there. He already showed that he owns that team. Every time he plays them, he in 2 games, 34 minutes, he's 38. And the same thing, 24 points, 10 rebounds, and no steals or blocks. That's just off points and rebounds. So if he gets a block or two in, stay out of foul trouble. Because Valanciunas didn't have a bad game against the Thunder. It just turned into a blowout, and he didn't get the run. They went to the Poetel or whatever name on the bench after the game got out of hand. But I think they'll be able to hang with Detroit. Detroit's not blowing anyone out. Detroit doesn't have that alpha superstar player that can kind of stretch the game out of control. And after coming off, let's look at back to backs. Let's see. So 22 and then 19. So his minutes been low because it's been a lot of blowouts. There's been a lot of blowouts. The team's been getting blown out. But when he plays 30 minutes, he's producing. I like Valanciunas tomorrow. Honestly, it says it's not a good matchup, but he's already proven that he can make it a good matchup. And I think they're gonna have to feed him the ball. They didn't really get to him because Westbrook takes the ball and he's 100 miles an hour. They don't really. I think against Detroit, let me see. What kind of teams does he like the fast paced games or does he like the slow paced game? Let's see. So Dallas is a slow team. In 23 minutes, he did well against them. Miami, they kind of pushed the pace a little bit. So does Atlanta. He did well in Atlanta. New Orleans, he did well. Boston. I like Valanciunas tomorrow. I love Horford and I like Valanciunas a lot. I don't know if I could get to Valanciunas because there's another center that I like a lot as well. So I can't get to Valanciunas tonight because of Hassan Whiteside. I must play Whiteside on tonight's slate. But with that said, Valanciunas is definitely worth consideration. And I'm gonna get rid of Lynn for now and I'm gonna put Valanciunas. And when I get to Whiteside, I'm gonna really think about it. But I like Whiteside a lot. On the other side of the ball, Detroit. Reggie Jackson is up and down. He's hot and cold. You don't want to flip a coin on that. He can get you 13 and 17. That's what he has in his last two. Or he can get you 39 and 32. So you don't want to mess around with Reggie Jackson, okay? Um, Caldwell Pope, same thing. We need about 30 to hit 6 times value. And he's 13 and 18 in his last two. So they're going through something. This whole team is going through something. I don't want to just throw darts and hope I hit the right target. Tobias Harris, 22 and 25 in his last two. Marcus Morris, we went over. Andre Drummond needs 40s to hit value. He's been 14, 26 in his last two. So they're going through something. I will stay away from Detroit players. Valanciunas is interesting, but that's about it. Houston versus New Orleans. There's no injuries. We know that Harden can go off as much points as he want, but to hit 6 times value, he needs about 70. And he hasn't been hitting the 70 that much. He did it against Cleveland because it's that type of game, right? Where he wants to show up and show out. But other than that, he's been cruising in the 50s and 60s. And for that price tomorrow, you don't want him to end up in the 40s and cost you the whole slate. So be careful with these big names, big players, all right? Just to kind of pause and go over my system. I believe in the 6 time value system. I like to pick players who can do that, who has the capability of hitting 6 times value, who hits 6 times value consistently, and players who have high upside for that. Okay, I made a video in last night video. I made a lineup similar to this one, but it was no Mo Spates. It was Fareed, and Fareed had a little more than Mo Spates did tonight. And there were no Tristan Thompson. Instead, it was Zaza Pachulia, who had 30 something fantasy points. So based on this system, you'd have had 300 fantasy points, right? Then I did a live show, and I changed my lineup to this lineup entered it in 8 contests, and it messed me up. So I went away from my system and lost. So I'm not gonna go away from my system. If you're gonna stick to my system, you're either gonna get a little above 300 or a little under 300. But you're almost guaranteed to be about 300 if you pick players who can get you there consistently, right? And that will win you in any format. So that's my approach for tomorrow. And Lou Williams comes off the bench. He needs mid 30s. We knew that he was gonna do it against the the Lakers, because it was a revenge game. I think the Pelicans be a little more competitive tomorrow, and Lou Williams fall back into the 20s and 70s. Don't chase these big points, all right? He does not fit the system. He's not as consistent as we would prefer. So no Lou Williams for me. Pat Beverly, same thing. He needs mid 30s, and he can get you 23, 28, 21 fantasy points. That's outside of the system. You don't want to mess with that. Ariza, same thing. He hasn't been consistent. We could take a look. And they say I look at game logs, and that's my weakness. I go by game logs, but that's a start. I look at game logs to see if I want to consider a player. If the player is interesting, then I look at other things why I like that player. But game logs are important. It's telling you everything the player has been doing for the last 10 games. Why would I not refer to that? A lot of people get caught up in all these projection system and spreadsheets. I hate those things, all right? No spreadsheet today could have told you. If you put the information from today's slate into a spreadsheet, it would have told you to pick Maurice Spates. He did not hit value. Maurice Spates, I went on the internet and I told people that Maurice Spates was gonna foul out. And he fouled out the first half. He came in the second half and did nothing. He hit like a three, got an assist, and that was it. That was the end of his night. He had like 16 fantasy points. I told the whole internet. I went on the Roto Grinder site in the chat, and I put it in capital letters. Stay away from Maurice Spates. Go with Brandon Bass. Brandon Bass hit 8 times value today for his price. He was in the 20s. So it's just to show you that my system and my way of thinking, I know basketball, man. Maurice Spates is not a starter. And when he gets starter minutes, he's going to get fouled out. He cannot go up against starting centers. They use him as a filler. When the starters need a breather, they bring him in. They expect a couple fouls from him. They might get a couple threes to keep them in the game. The starters get their breath back, and life goes on. Maurice Spates is not starter material. Never. Don't ever consider Maurice Spates in your lineup. Not even for the minimal price, all right? That's just my little rant. To continue, Ryan Anderson, he needs about 27. The last game out, he only gave you 4 fantasy points. If a guy's capable of giving you 4 fantasy points, be careful. I do like his price. I'm not gonna lie. The two before that, he gave you 28, 29, but then he gave you 10 and 4. And he's getting. This was a blowout, so he did. That's why it was so low. I think for this price, I might can get to Ryan Anderson in 2 games against this team. He played 25 minutes. He only put up 17 fantasy points, so that's enough to pump the brakes. Clint Capella needs about 33. He's been near 30s, but not as consistent as I prefer, and the upside isn't there, and the matchup isn't there. He's going to be going up against some big guys. But we know that when Houston plays a competitive game that's not a blowout, Clint Capella thrives with all those lobs from James Harden, and he could pull down some rebounds. I don't doubt that he'll get you near 30. I just don't think he has the upside. So Clint Capella is a good play for tomorrow. I just don't like his upside. I'll stay away from him, okay? Um, on the New Orleans side of the ball, Drew Holiday, I wouldn't really mess with. He's too inconsistent. You'll need about 40 from him, and he can get you 30 and 19. That's what he did in his last two. That's just enough for me to pump the brakes. Jordan Crawford, scouting report has caught up to him. Teams know how to approach him. In his last two, he got 21 and 15. For his price, you need mid 20s. Stay away from him. Etwan Moore is interesting. He's met value in his last two for his price, 21 and 22. But the upside isn't there. So even though if he hits value, he doesn't have that upside that we need. In two matchups against Houston, he played 23 minutes. He's only putting out 16.3. So I don't love Etwan Moore. Anthony Davis and DeMarcus Cousins to end out this slate. I said in the last video that they're going to cancel each other out. So I see them both getting in the 40s or maybe 50s, but to get 60, which is their value that I'm expecting, I don't see it happening. So I'll leave that alone, okay? Miami versus Minnesota. No injuries. I'm gonna start with Miami. Someone on Miami that I like is Hassan Whiteside. And to make that point, I'm gonna look at some game logs and I'm gonna show you guys why, right? So let's look at Carl Anthony Towns for a second. So we can see the last couple teams that they played and see if any of those teams played tonight and see how the center done against him, okay? Boston plays tonight, Washington plays tonight. Milwaukee doesn't have a cut and dry center. They play around, so I won't look at them, but Boston, Milwaukee, and Houston all plays tonight. So let's look at Washington. I think played them. Boston and Houston. Right now, let's look at their center and see how they did against. So Clint Capella against Minnesota in 22 minutes put up 33 fantasy points. That's very appealing to me. Horford in 30 minutes, put up 48 fantasy points. I'm not even going to go on. We know that bigs against this team terrorizes them, right? So what's to say that Hassan Whiteside cannot continue that streak tomorrow? You want to play Hassan Whiteside against um, Minnesota, okay? Their point guard, um, Ricky Rubio. Now this is a tougher matchup for him, and his price is the same. I think that he's going to get you into the 30s tomorrow for sure. But I think he might hit his floor, okay? To hit value for this, you need mid 40s. And mid 40s seems to be kind of where he can chill, but he can get you into the 30s. The upside is not quite there for Rubio tomorrow, okay? In 35 minutes, he put up 41. 41 would not be 6 times value. So if it was a better matchup, I would say ride the Rubio train till it's dry. But I think tomorrow is where we pump the brakes. He's gonna have a tough matchup, and his price for that matchup. See the game that he played before this one, his price was similar, right? It was like 74, but it was Boston, and he didn't really hit value for 74. He did okay. Dragic had a better game that night, as I remember. So I think for that price, we can start slowing down on some Rubio. We already got good. Rondo is going to get you into the 40s. Rozier is going to hit 7 to 8 to 9 times value. We can pump the brakes on Rubio at this point, okay, guys? Looking at the Minnesota. I don't love Rubio tomorrow. I do like him. And if you're a person I want to keep on the hot streak, yeah, but I don't love him tomorrow. Um, and then none of these guys. Wiggins been going through something. Um, 32-24 for we need 40 from him. So that's half of what we're expecting. Leave him alone for now. Jang is in a good spot now that B Halixa is out for the rest of the season. He's good for a point per minute. In 24 minutes against them, he put up 24 fantasy points. We know that when Jang gets minutes, he'll do okay. It's a tough matchup for him, but his floor is pretty safe, all right? If Jang gets you minutes in the 20s, upper 20s, he's not going to get you anything too low. So I think he's safe. And I can go Jang. I can consider some Jang tomorrow. Nowitzki, would I take out Jang? It's just that Nowitzki needs 40s. And he can't. I'm going to take out Nowitzki and put Jang for tomorrow. All right, I'm going to put Gorgie Jang. I know it's not the best matchup, but when you look at Miami, and this is why I really like Jang, right? When you look at Miami, they're starting Luke Babbitt at power forward. Okay, he doesn't get too much minutes, but he gets enough. He's starting the game, right? So let's look at Luke Babbitt for a minute. He's getting what, 15 minutes a game, which is not a lot. So he'll come out quick, and they'll bring in James Johnson. But I don't think James Johnson will be able to put a body on Jang either. In 29 minutes, he struggles. He doesn't really get any rebounds. I want to look at the Wolves versus Heat. I want to kind of see. Look, this is when I go outside of the game log. When I'm kind of interested in a player, but I need more information, then I do a little research. But the game log is where it starts for me. Okay. Wolves versus Heat. And they played once, February 6th. I think Levine played that game, so it might mess with the analysis. But let's see. That really shouldn't mess with the big man game. And Levine didn't play. It was rushed. So it's perfect. Same exact breakdown. Same exact breakdown. So Jang played 24 minutes. It wasn't a blowout. Who did they give the minutes to? Why did he? Carl Anthony Towns played. So who? Shabazz Muhammad, but that's still not enough minutes to make up. Who were they running at the four? So Rush got a lot of minutes. I think Jen gets more minutes tomorrow. With Bielitsa out. Bielitsa got 13 minutes. So there it goes. They kind of split those two. So some of those minutes have to go to Gorgie Jang. They're gonna need that body on the floor. I love Gorgie Jang for tomorrow, man. I think Jang is in a good spot. I'm gonna roll him out in the power forward spot. All right, Gorgie Jang. Now he needs 30 for 6 times value. We know that he can do that with the minutes. The reason he hasn't been doing it recently is because his minutes and his role has decreased a little bit, but he's been one rebound shy of double doubling. I think he double doubles tomorrow. Um, for 5K, he doesn't really fit my system, so I'm having a hard time getting to him. I think I might have to let him go and put back Dirk. 24, 27, 16. I know that Bialik says out, but until he shows me what he can do, I'm gonna leave him alone. I like him personally, and that's what really messes up a lot of people in this fantasy stuff is that they have personal interest for players and they feel like they can just roster them without solid documentation. I need a reason. When I pick each player, I need a reason to say yes, this is why I'm picking that player. So I couldn't find it for Gorgie Jang tomorrow. I had to let him go. All right. That's the system, guys. That's the way you got to think when you make these lineups. Don't just pick a player. Have a solid reason and stick to it. Carl Anthony Towns needs 60. Um, 41. He's had 60 consistently, and then I played him, and he gave me 40. And to play a big name guy on a slate like this with Hassan Whiteside on there, all the blocks and whatnot, I'm not able to get to Carl Anthony Towns tomorrow. Okay. Some people might say to pick three Boston players is risky. One of them is Min Price, and the other two I think are gonna have the big responsibility for scoring. If I do get rid of one, it'll be Avery, John Bradley. I love Al Horford, love Rozier. I'm not touching those two tomorrow. All right. On the Miami side of the ball, I might can get to some Dragic. I just don't have the space. You know, I like to play centers for my utility. I'm not taking out Rondo for Dragic because Rondo's cheaper, and I think they're gonna get me similar numbers. And then Rozier is my super value, so I can't get to Dragic, but he is a good play. The matchup is not great. Minnesota's been playing good defense, but he's hot and he's consistent. He needs mid 40s, and I can't say he's consistent in the mid 40s. Most games he settled out in the mid 30s, so Dragic fade is appropriate. Dion Waiters needs about 40. But he's going to be going up against some good defenders tomorrow. Be very careful with Dion Waiters. In 33 minutes, he only put up 30 fantasy points, and I think he's going to stay in the low 30s if that much tomorrow. Stay away from Dion Waiters. The matchup is not there. It's going to be difficult for him. Um, James Johnson against Gorgie Jang is going to struggle. In 29 minutes, he only put up 23 fantasy points, and he's very inconsistent. In the last two, 21 and 18. That can sink your lineup. You don't want to mess with that, okay? Um, and that's about it for that game. All right, two more games to go. Orlando Phoenix. I'm very curious to see what Eulis price is now. Barbosa, Derek Jones, Brandon Knight are all questionable. Let's start with Phoenix. 5,700. I guess that's reasonable. Right? He put up 41 the last time out. With this price, you need about mid 30s. That's reasonable. That's a decent price for someone that's going to be starting. I can't get to that though. I already got guards that I love for tomorrow. Devin Booker is in a good spot. He needs 43 to hit value, and he doesn't get into the 40s consistently. I liked his price when it was in the sixes, but he doesn't get into the 40s consistently. And I guess his price is up because of the matchup and the fact that Eric Bledsoe has been shut down for the rest of the season. But don't chase that. If you do want something from this game to chase, though, I would check out TJ Warren. He's averaging 34.7, which is over five, between 5 and 6K. We know he has some 40 upside. We need just about 40 from him tomorrow. The matchup is there, and now that Bledsoe isn't playing, he'll be relied upon for some more scoring. Similar to the last game they played, Bledsoe was out. He went off for 43 points. So if Bledsoe is out and Ulis is looking like a real point guard, I think he'll find Warren. Warren is going to crash the boards. Orlando cannot rebound. So I think Warren double doubles tomorrow. I see something like this against the Lakers. 17 and 13 or a 15 and 10. I think he scores 20s and get over 10 rebounds. I love TJ Warren tomorrow. Make sure you have him in your lineup. Marquise Chris is too volatile. He can get you 42 points one night and then the other night come out and give you 17. I'll be careful with Marquise Chris. It's just that these guys are getting so much minutes, man. They're really rolling out these young guys, and when Ulis comes in, him and Ulis got this thing going on. But for 5K, it's definitely risky. You need about 30 from him consistently, and we haven't seen that. Right? We see he go up and down. Let's get off Marquise Chris for now. Allen Williams being mid-30s. He's been doing that consistent. He's probably the safest play for the night. A good cash play. Um, Against Orlando, I think he'll have decent upside as well because they don't rebound the ball. The thing is, he doesn't start. He comes off the bench, so his minutes will be a little bit curtailed. Um, we know he has 40 side upside, 40-point upside. He's been in 30s at least for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games in the 30s. So Allen Williams is safe, man. I'm just not going there. I try to stay away from these tanking teams that have nothing to play for. I really do. Len for 4K kind of reminds me of Kufos, but Len doesn't even hit value for that consistently. So let's leave Len alone. But he's a starting center for that price. Pretty good. I just have my two centers for tomorrow locked in, so I'm kind of not really messing around. On the Orlando side of the ball, a very good play tomorrow is Alfred Payton. I get it. He needs upper 40s to hit value, and he's been doing that, right? The thing is, when he's not triple doubling, he's getting 30s. It takes triple doubles to get him in the upper 40s or 50s, and I'm not banking that Alfred Payton's going to have a triple double tomorrow on a back to back. I mean, Phoenix is the team to do it against. There's no defense that's going to be played at all, but I already have two guards that I really like anyway. Rondo and Rozier are who I'm rolling out with. Um, I don't think Rondo's price pretty much match what he can do as a starter. You can expect 40 from Rondo or somewhere close to it. And if not, it's definitely in the 30s. He struggled against this team in 3 games this year, 28 points, minutes average, and he's averaging 23 points. But don't let that discourage you. First of all, he's going to get minutes in the 30s, so that'll go up a little bit. He's going to get a bunch of assists. Rondo is someone that I could probably pivot off of. I'm going to move Rondo and put Rozier on top and see, because there's other. Do I want to get rid of Rondo? 65. At the end, I'll revisit it. Let me see who else is available, but I'll put him back so I don't forget him. But Rondo is someone that I don't mind replacing against Washington. He's just been playing well as of late, and he's since back in the starting lineup, he's hit that value twice. But the upside, I don't think there's too much upside for Rondo in that price. You might get like mid 20s, and that's it. So that's the part that has me second guessing Rondo for tomorrow. What are we looking at? Orlando. Alfred Payton might be a better player than Rondo tomorrow. In 30 minutes against them, he only put up 27. But like I said, he needs a triple double to hit that value. Let's see what he did today. 13 points, 8 rebounds, 5 turnovers, 2 assists, 2 blocks. He's been getting blocks too. What is this? 13, 23, 27, 31. So this is what? He was in the 20s today. So if you pick Alfred, you got 20 something points today. Um, Phoenix is the team though that Alfred will thrive in, but I just don't think I could get there with Alfred, to be honest. Not for that price. His price is up to the elites, and I don't think he's an elite. Vucevic, I do like. They played already this year in 29 minutes. It just took him 29 minutes to put up 45 points against his team, and that's what we want. He's consistently in the 40s. He had an off day today because it was a bad matchup for him. But against Phoenix, I think Vucevic can do it, man. Um, would I consider taking out Whiteside for Vucevic though, and save $700 when I know Whiteside is gonna beast tomorrow? I think I could get. It's a good consideration. As much as I love Whiteside, if I could save at the end, I'm gonna write down Vucevic's name, and at the end, I'm gonna revisit it because I think Vucevic is in a good spot against Phoenix tomorrow. Um, for sure, sure thing, right? And if I don't know if they're gonna rest him, but we'll just see. And that's it from that game. This Lakers game, I'm not messing with it. I don't advise that you do. I don't even want to go over it, but I will just for people who are interested in it. So Antetokounmpo needs 60 in the last 3 games. He's been in the 30s, so that's half of what you want. That's like 3 times value. Don't do it to yourself. Brogdon, very inconsistent. He needs about 30. He'll get you 23, 33, 11, 24. You don't want those numbers from him. Della Vedova, 21, 16. You don't want those numbers from him. Shooting guard, Snell was doing okay when he was like 3,500, but for 4K, he's not consistent. He's gonna get me mid 20s. Middleton needs 40, and he doesn't do that consistently. I know it's the Lakers, and that's a good matchup for him, but just curb your enthusiasm with Middleton for tomorrow, in my opinion. Terrence Jones really got like 2 minutes. No, he hasn't even made the rotation as yet. Greg Monroe is someone that if he gets minutes against the Lakers, I think he'll do well. In 19 minutes, he only put up 14 fantasy points against them this year. I'm not gonna mess with this game, so I'm all set. John Henson for the minimal price. He was hitting value for that last week. He was getting 22, 26, 22, but now he's not even getting minutes and he's getting 13 fantasy points. So leave Henson alone. On the Lakers side of the ball, Zubac was everybody's favorite play the other day, and then he came out and gave you like the most spade special. I'm not interested. D'Angelo Russell lost his point guard starting spot. Russell is now the starter. I don't know how they're gonna play it tomorrow. There's way too much uncertainties, and none of these guys hit value consistently. Okay, I can show you if you want. Russell needs about 40 in his last game, 11. The one before that, 23. That's enough said. Clarkson needs 36. Last game, 28. The one before that, 26. Enough said. Ingram is getting a bunch of minutes and doing nothing with it. He needs about 30. Last game, he did 31. The one before that, 19. Too much inconsistencies. Larry Nance needs 24. Last game, he had 8. The one before that, 20. He's not cutting it for us. Randall, he needs 43. Last game, 44. The one before that, 21. If I was to play a Laker, I'll probably play Randall. I think Randall is pretty safe. He's been a little consistent. 40, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 times out of the last 10. And he got some 55 and 65 games in there too. So if you have him in your lineup and he goes off for one of those games tomorrow, you'll be good. But with them wanting to play Zubac and all this weird stuff, I'm just not messing with that Laker game tomorrow. So this is the end of the slate. Questionable. I had to write down a couple names. I wrote down Dragic and Vucevic. Those are players that I had questionable. Let's see what 7,300 buys me as far as a forward. Randall for 7,300 on a late night hammer is not a bad idea, man. I don't want to mess with anyone from this game, but um, Randall is interesting. I'm not gonna do it though. It's too up and down for me. Doesn't fit my system. Um, what forward does? It's hard finding these forwards, man. These forwards difficult to come by. So let's start on top. Saric been hot, but I did some studying with Sarich, right? And the games that he do good are against teams that play up pace. Like Golden State up pace 50. Lakers up pace 50. Clippers like to slow it down 26. Portland can be a little bit up pace and he got into the 40s. Milwaukee slows it down, he's in the 30s. Detroit slows it down, he's in the 30s. New York is up pace 41. Miami slows it down, he's in the 20s. Golden State 41, New York 45. So I think he likes the pace, and for 8K he needs about 48, which is way too much for Sarich. I'm sorry, I can't get to Sarich tomorrow. Jimmy Butler against Washington. He has a good history against them. In 2 games, he's averaged 38 minutes and he's put up 53.4. But Jimmy Butler is so inconsistent. He can get you 27, then 56, then 22 and 29. I think with Wade out, he's going to return to chalk status tomorrow, especially for 8-8. He needs about 50 to hit value for that, and the upside will be 60s. I just can't bank on Jimmy doing that. I'm not gonna let Jimmy for that price bring down my lineup. Dion Waiters, I don't think is gonna really have a good game, but I think his floor is so safe that being that there's no clear cut options for forward, I can do Dion Waiters with a mid 30s or low 30s. It might not be value at 6 times, but it'll be 5 times, and I think he has the capability to penetrate 40s to on any given night if his shots fall. But without his shots really falling as much as he would like it to, I think his floor is safe. But the same could be said for Harrison Barnes, right? Barnes will land you around just around 30 a game, but he's more in the 20s and the 30s. I think Wade is more in the 30s. Um, he did have a couple games where he had an ankle injury and he was kind of limping around, but other than that, he's been 30s and 40s. These are the games I'm referring to. But before that, he was 30s. I guess I can give Waiters this last forward spot by default. I don't see any other forward. Jang, it's just I know Jang is not too bad either, but Waiters have better upside, and they both have similar floor. As a matter of fact, Jang floor might be a little slower than Waiters, and I think whatever Jang can give me, I think Waiters can give me with the upside. So I'm gonna hold on to Waiters. And let's see where I can go up, right? Waiters could be a 2 guard or a forward. So if I put, let me see if any other 2 guards, because I don't love Brad. I like Bradley a lot only because I think he's the main option for scoring and he can score. You know what I mean? Bradley can give you 20 points on any given night, 18, 17, 16. It's just that I think Bradley's gonna settle. He doesn't have the upside. I mean, he played Philly 36 minutes. Um, and Brooklyn is a good matchup. Let's look at their history. In 2 games, he's played 33 minutes against Brooklyn and put up 40 points. I'm not going to move him. I like the handcuff with Bradley and Rozier, and I think Horford can ball out. So Rozier is set. Bradley is set. Let's see if I can find someone for 7,200 that I like better than Warren. I doubt it. I don't like Devin Booker better than Warren. Um, I don't want to make that mistake. I think Devin Booker is more around 30, stay in the 30s. He does have a 45-point game, but what did he do? He had to score 36 points. Devin Booker is not going to give you 36 points on a consistent basis, right? TJ Warren, on the other hand, he can get you in the 30s without really going crazy. He got us um, 43 fantasy point with just 24 points. Now, he had 2 blocks and a steal. And I watched that game, man. He's really attacking these players on defense. He's good for a block most games, man. You know what I mean? But even if he doesn't, if we take away 6 from this, it's mid 30s. I could deal with that. And then when he put 44 here, he only had 17 points. Again, 3 blocks. And I think the double digit rebounds are okay with Orlando. I like TJ Warren tomorrow. He fits the system. What about 7K and upgrade on Dirk? I don't see anyone. If Lopez was a forward, I'll take Lopez over Dirk, but I can't do that, right? 6,700. Drew Holiday, no. I love Horford. He's pretty much locked in. 7,100, and then get rid of Rondo for someone 7,100. It'll have to be like a guard or a forward. And I don't see anyone that makes me want to do that. Waiters, we kind of went over 8,700. Who can I get for 8,700? And do I like them more than Whiteside? No one. So I guess the only thing here now is to upgrade on Rosier for 3,600. Although the upside is there for Rosier, um, if someone is more that can give you even more points, then why not take it, right? I don't think PJ Tucker. I think Rosier can outscore Tucker on any given night. I need a player that I'm almost guaranteed to outdo Rosier. So I'm gonna give Rosier 20, mid 20, 25. I need a player that can guarantee me a floor of 25 for 3,600, and I don't think anyone can. So this is my lineup so far. Injury news. There's no one for 66 that I like. Tomorrow's slate's kind of rough, bro. Cause I don't love Bradley. I can Otto Porter for Avery Bradley is not wise. Otto Porter can give you 24, but for the most part, he's in the 30s, 12 and 22 against Chicago. He seems to struggle, and Jimmy Butler can keep up with him. So I'm gonna pump the brakes. I won't take out Bradley for none of these guys. Middleton against the Lakers sounds good, but Middleton's been in the 20s, and it's not a good matchup for him. I think this is pretty good for now. And as news come out tomorrow and more value approaches us, um, we could take it from there. But I'm leaving a lot of money on the table. I don't love Booker over T.J. Warren, man. I think the thing is, right, with Eulis starting and Bledsoe, Booker will try to chuck up a lot of shots, but I seen him do that the other day. He went 6 for 26, 26 points. He needs to get me mid 40s for that price. I don't see that. I think Warren is easier to get me into the mid 40s in a matchup like this than Booker and Dirk. Dirk is probably the weakest link in my lineup only because of his age. He doesn't have recent history against them, and for his price, we need about 40, and that's pretty much where he's been maxing out. The only thing is, if I take out Dirk and find someone for 7K, and it has to be a power forward, I'm having a hard time getting a 7K power forward that I really trust. I mean, Covington for Dirk is not a bad idea. All right, let me kind of explain. I think I could do that. I think this is it. So Covington has 51 point upside. He's gonna get you steadily in the 30s and 40s, right? And he can get you into the 40s and 50s, similar to Dirk. But Dirk might settle out. They're both just as risky, and I think Covington plays more minutes, right? Let's see. In the last 10 games, Covington is averaging 33 minutes and 33 fantasy points. Dirk's averaging 28 minutes and 35 fantasy points. In the head to head, Dirk played them 28 and 20.3. Covington played them. He hasn't played them. Let me take them out both and just put them next to each other and kind of. So Dirk got the better matchup. Part of me want to put Rocco in, man. I think Covington. I mean, he's been struggling. You gotta love Covington when he shoots 1 for 8 and still give you 28 fantasy points. So what if he'd have had? He got to the line quite a bit. What if he would have had just 10 more points, which he does frequent, right? Let's see what happened here in the Clippers. The Clippers slow the game way down, so it's not a lot of just like the Dallas do, but they'll be at home. These games he were on the road. Let's see his road home split. Maybe that can. Nope, that doesn't help me. I'm trying to find something that can convince me to pick this guy over Dirk. So the minutes are gonna be there, I think. The rebounds, this defense. He's playing good defense. He gets some steals, blocks. I think him and Dirk are pretty similar when we're looking at these numbers here. This is consistency. I mean, recent he's going through something, but on the road, right? I think he comes back home and do well. He just hasn't played Dallas, and I can't see a team similar to Dallas. Maybe a Miami where he gets 30. We definitely need 40 from him. Um, and Dirk seems to have the better matchup. But Dirk minutes are so like up and down. I think too. They'll cut Dirk minutes if um this was a blowout. So Dirk's playing in the 30s. Dallas wants to win. They're trying to get into the playoff. Dirk's shot's been hitting. And we know bigs against Philly is like gold, right? But in 28 minutes, he really didn't grab that much rebounds. And if his shot's off for whatever reason, like here, he's hitting three-pointers and his shots are falling. But let's look at Dirk splits. So Dirks likes to be on the road, and Covington as well likes to be on the road. They both score better on the road. But they're so similar players, man. They're such similar players. Dirk or Rocco. Sixers played yesterday. So they had he was a little bit. I think Covington is okay. And news is gonna drop tomorrow and things are gonna change. But so far this is the lineup and I feel very good about it from how it looks, right? It's very balanced. Rozier is a go, and then everyone is just around 6K. Um I did consider Vucevic instead of Whiteside because I think I'll get similar numbers from them. And then let's see if that helps me anymore. I doubt it. Um, Julius Randle doesn't do much for me. I would have preferred Saric over both Rocco and Dirk. But like I said, when the game slows down, Saric struggles. And I really have a good feeling about Whiteside tomorrow. I think Whiteside goes off. And he's due. He's due for one of those big 50-point monsters. I think Whiteside's in the 50s tomorrow. And hopefully Covington can take us back. Covington normally gets you more than Saric when he's incorporated. So, like Covington, I don't hate Covington. I think Covington get us in the 40s. I don't see why not. Whiteside is due for a 50-point game. We know he can do it. He's in the upper 40s a lot. The matchups there. I love Whiteside tomorrow. Like Dion Waiters a lot. Don't love him. Love Rondo tomorrow. Horford. Love Horford tomorrow. Covington, Warren, Bradley. This is solid. This is good. This will get you in the green tomorrow, guys. So play with confidence, all right? And I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.